We got. Oh, everything's on. Wow, sounds good. Sounds good. Nothing like a mid-afternoon live podcast.
I mean, I'm treating it like a radio. They haven't taken that away yet.
No. We can do like I don't even know who's on. Sports radio is probably on all day long, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sports radio. I mean, yeah, Josh, you listen. Sports radio.
Yeah.
The
Your dad's not in here yet.
no, he might actually. What time is it? It's 2:15. He's actually still at work.
Oh, there we go. We get some people.
Whoa.
It's crazy. So these people actually have like notifications turned on for YouTube. So we appreciate you.
Same.
We appreciate you. That's good. I mean, someone got a notification of like
Jordan, this is an intervention.
it's an intervention. Yeah,
Yep,
you're
we're
late.
here to talk about SR20s.
SR20s. Chris Casali. I put in a hard days today. Hard day's work today.
Big seat in?
Is Big Seat at his current gig?
I would presume so.
I don't know if he get the time off, you know? Will mom find out about final? Your mom will never know about Final Bout. She'll never know. The shame of it all is thinking back now. I have Jordan's address. I could have mailed his mom some stickers of him.
If you want to relay them to me, I'll just give them to her tonight.
That's it. Oh, there we go. Yeah. We'll pass them off. That's right. Tim. I mean, Tim could probably pass them off. You know, a bunch of people.
P. Coots.
Pete Cooch. Wow. Oh, don't you guys all have work? Oh man. It's gonna be a little Max Mango.
Big seat. Are we on in the shop? Over the public address system?
Oh, like an Amber Alert right now. You know, everyone's phone got a notification. I don't know where Josh went. He's leaving. He's like, you know what? This mid-afternoon podcast isn't for me. What are you doing out there?
Figured I'd lock the door so we don't get raided by the
Yes.
ATF.
I might have been followed here.
Yeah.
I hope it-
There's a rogue truck driver just comes in.
Yeah. Oh, well, there was somebody here before for KD.
Oh.
Popped in. I watched him. He popped in and went, oh. Just right out there. Just not even.
No words. Wow.
This is work. We're saving. Well, we're not going to save anything, but we're putting up the fight.
No, this is definitely not one Shook's going to show up for.
Shook doesn't even know
Yeah,
this is happening right now.
He's not aware.
I mean, to be honest, even Chuck must be like, "What the hell?" If he gets a notification finally,
It's like
Oh, he's still up.
yeah, it's like 8 p.m. there.
probably eating dinner, listening to us,
8 or 9 p.m.
wondering what the hell's happening.
Yeah, let's see. Time in 8 p.m. Perfect.
Jordan, I needed a reason to sit on the toilet for a half an hour. This is it.
Jeez. You needed a reason. I think you do that normally throughout the course of your day.
I'm sure he takes his bathroom breaks seriously.
A P2P. Pay to
Yep.
poop.
Yep. All right, let me close that. I got a couple things up here for reference.
I did nothing.
Oh no, that's fine.
You called me and I was like, well, I have to cram a day's work into 3 hours at this point.
Let's
so.
get this done. Stat.
Yeah, I did nothing. I was present. Honestly, it's probably the only one who could be present. I mean, Chuck's in Poland, and there's no way that Chuck was gonna.
I was like, my thought was like, all right, I gotta let Chuck, and I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
It would have been great if you called him and be like, buddy,
Can
you get here? Can you get here?
Jordan, you'll find out why this is an emergency in a moment. Yeah, that's already up the but yeah, we don't need to worry about pre-party, any of that sort of stuff. I think I'll do the
jump right into it.
intro music and then just dive right in.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am Josh Garcia, and this is the Revival Motoring Podcast, Emergency Edition. Today, I am joined by, as usual, Corey.si.
Hello, hello.
And we have our good friend, car connoisseur, race car support gentleman, great dude overall, Mr. Ransom Pete.
Oh, thank you for those kind words. Appreciate it. And thank you for having me.
No problem. Truly, it was one of those things where this is obviously not going to be a normal episode for those of you who are familiar with what we do every Wednesday. Tune in. We are currently live on YouTube, and this will hit the audio airwaves podcast version either later tonight or tomorrow morning. This is an emergency edition of the show because there is some stuff happening in Massachusetts in particular when it comes to both K vehicles and now seemingly some JDM vehicles, some imported vehicles. So if you even remotely pay attention to this show or the car culture, car world, automotive enthusiast world at all, you will know and understand that there's a lot of love for the JDM manufacturers, i.e. Honda, Nissan, Toyota, et cetera, et cetera. And with a lot of iconic vehicles becoming available for the 25-year mark that the federal government has set, more and more of those vehicles are coming stateside and being legally registered and legally used. However, the state closest to Rhode Island, namely Massachusetts, is trying to change that. Not in a legal manner. They're blaming it, or they're using leverage in blaming somebody else and saying, oh, it's not us making the rules, but it seems like they don't even know the rules. So, needless to say, Pete is here. We're going to talk about that. Over the past, I'd say, 4 to 5 days, a bunch more news has come to, has dropped. More people are being either denied at the registry or, finding more information out. In particular, Pete spent probably an hour and a half on the phone today with a particular department trying to find out exactly what's going on. Because for one, you live in Massachusetts, and two, you own a handful of JDM vehicles. We've seen what happened with the K1s in Rhode Island, and basically, for lack of a better term, the way I can summarize it is no definitive answer means they can still F you, which is a problem.
That's right. If I don't have to write it down, it can't be interpreted except by anybody other than myself. Yeah, I get to decide.
Mm-hmm. Right. So when did this first start? I mean, we knew the K vehicles were a problem in surrounding states, different things like that over the past, let's call it 2 years, right?
Yeah. So maybe I can sort of describe how things have unfolded over the last week or so. First is the voice changer on. That's my first request. Have you manipulated my voice? And two, for the record, I have no suicidal tendencies
or thoughts
in case I get Epsteined after this podcast.
Well, the good thing is we're not trying to blame Boeing for anything. So we might have some luck here. I don't know.
Yeah. So I'll try to sort of relive. I may not have the exact days down, but I first became aware of an individual maybe around a week ago that tried to go into a particular DMV branch and register a K vehicle. Mm-hmm. And that person was denied. And, in the past, essentially the clerks have this written script, if you will, on the screen that says, this is kind of what needs to be provided. And they kind of say, okay, I see you need this. Yep, you have it. Yep, you have it. And, admittedly, some of the clerks have done enough of them now where they're like, okay, I know, and I know what I'm looking at, and I know what needs to be submitted. But, it also varies branch by branch. So this person told me that, I got rejected. They tried a different DMV branch and ended up getting registered. I don't want to share any more than that because I don't want to put that person in jeopardy. But, that was interesting. And I was sort of like, well, maybe they caught a bad DMV clerk, right? Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of an uproar on Facebook, and then, okay, well, it ended up getting registered. So maybe it was not an issue. And then somebody else got rejected. Like, okay, well, 2 in a row, I don't know. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
So after that second person got rejected, they had a sort of a form letter that says, this vehicle does not meet NHTSA, which is National Highway Transportation Safety Administration requirements. Therefore, it is not legal to be on the road. So that sort of piqued my interest, and I decided to call the DOT and sort of say, hey, look, I see this sort of unfolding. Is there something going on here? And, that particular person, their response to me was, well, the NHTSA is blocking it. It's a federal thing. They're blocking it. Like, it's a little strange to me, but, I'm not going to, it's possible, and I'm just out of the loop, right?
Yeah.
So I try to contact the NHTSA. You can't call anybody there. The only way you can contact them is via email. So somebody's going to hide behind a curtain or a barrier, right? So this is,
typical.
Yeah. So I got an email address, and a day later, I did get an email. I essentially said, are you blocking imported VINs to the states? I explained the situation. Mass is claiming it's you folks that are blocking it. And the person gave a bit of a vague answer, and I just point blank went back and said, are you blocking VINs that are not in the NHTSA database on an imported vehicle? And their response was, no, we are not blocking any VINs over 25 years old, and we are not keeping track of VINs for vehicles outside of the country. So I, as a government, I don't have a database, but I'm also not going to block that particular VIN number from being registered. It's over 25. It's exempt in my mind.
It meets the pre-established criteria.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So after I received that email, I called the same office back and I said, okay, well, you told me that it was, and they call it NHTSA. You told me it was NHTSA that was blocking this VIN, and I've just been in contact with NHTSA, and they've said, we don't block anything.
Yeah.
In looking back, I speculate that maybe this person was given talking points, right? Hey, if somebody calls, this is what you need to say.
Yeah.
You don't need to be informed.
Yeah.
If somebody
here's
contacts
just your
you,
playlist.
yeah, here's your talking points. And so I said to the person, it's not being blocked. So either your superiors or the policymakers are either A, uninformed, or B, being deceitful. And, obviously I can't say which it is, because you've said these vehicles are against the rules, but yet when somebody asks you for the rule, oh, we can't give it to you, it's not public.
Yeah.
Well, how do you have it both ways? Like, where's the accountability that says, I can sit here behind this curtain, I can make a decision, I can rely on the clerks or the customer service reps to face the people and their frustration, their anger, whatever emotion they have, and not give them an adequate answer.
Yep.
It's against the rules, but I don't have the rule to give you.
Yep.
Well, that is pretty unfair in my mind, and it doesn't even have to be about a JDM vehicle. It can be about anything. About anything, right? And, so the person said to me, so, well, can you fax it to me? I said, in my mind, I'm like, a little strange. Like, I didn't, not that many people that use faxes anymore. And, like, I thought about it after the fact.
You fax what, a copy of your email?
Yeah, the email that I got.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, why wouldn't this person just give me an email address? And then and I just said, hey, look, I don't even know if I have a fax machine in the office I'm working in. I don't know. As it turns out, there's no fax machine. I didn't send it. And I sort of reflected back, and I'm like, I think two things happened. One, this person didn't want me to have their email address.
Yeah, zero contact information.
And two, why should I educate them on something they should already know?
Yeah.
Why am I giving them the answer to the question?
I was going to say,
they should already have this answer.
In that form of governing, the citizen who has no power, why do we have to have the answers?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's a little strange that I actually am more knowledgeable than that person.
Yeah,
who's in a position of authority or whatever it may be.
Right. You think about the hoops you had to jump through just to contact someone. I think NHTSA. You think they would have like a rep or something where they could call directly and be like, "Hey, what's going on here? What are we doing? Yeah. Is this a yes or a no for us? What are we going on?"
And this, I'll say this lack of rule, if you will, this lack of publication. It's in the works. This is what we've been hearing. What people do is when you have a hole, when you have a vacuum, there's a natural tendency to fill it. Mm-hmm. So people are, there's blanks and people are trying to fill the blanks. And, sometimes it's done with emotion. Sometimes it's done, through logical, fact finding and or critical decision or critical thinking and all that. But people are frustrated and they're like, hey, why won't somebody that knows what's going on talk to me?
Yeah.
Why am I sort of talking to these people who, one, don't understand, or two, have been given the script? And I'm not holding customer service reps accountable or responsible, the front end, DMV clerks. I know this isn't their doing.
Yeah.
I had so that's where that particular call ended. And then I think it was 2 nights ago, somebody had reached out to me and said, hey, I've got a vehicle that I'm going to look to register in Mass. Somebody said you could probably help me. And I said, well, I don't know that I can help you, but what I can do is, meaning I can't do it on your behalf, but I can sort of tell you like what I've experienced and also tell you what I'm hearing and what's going on. And the best advice I can give you is when you walk into the DMV, because the smoldering piece of information we have is that a K ban is coming. But again, without a public statement, we don't even know that it's strictly K. We don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
So I said, well, the best thing that you could probably do on your behalf is when you go in there, specifically say to this person, this is not a K vehicle.
Yeah.
It's not a K truck. It's not a K van. This is a regular vehicle. So
was it?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an EK Civic. Obviously was not a K vehicle.
And this goes.
It's a vehicle that was sold here as well.
It's a vehicle that's sold here as well. And this is another sort of gray area. I think they're trying to leverage and be a little bit maybe, I don't know if deceitful is the right word, but like leverage some ambiguity, if you will.
Yeah.
Because even though there was a Civic in Japan and a Civic here and they share the same badge, without that VIN being in the database, nobody can with certainty say that car was made to the same spec.
Yeah.
It looks the same, it smells the same, but the VIN's not in the list, so therefore it's not the same, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a gray area. It's a bit ambiguous. However, the feds have said if it's over 25, I don't need it in my list.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's not on my list, no big deal.
Yep.
Yeah, we have enough 25 and younger to look after. Anything 25 and older, I don't have to think about this anymore.
Yep.
And that's their way of, an understandable way. That's their way of going, oh, yeah, in order for us to handle this somewhat, we're only going to allow 25-year plus vehicles because there's probably not going to be too many of those coming in, whereas prevents a bunch of people from going, ooh, hypothetical, I want 200 JDM Supras, the new one that they might have built, whatever. It's just like, it's just not going to work because, again, as you alluded to, same, yes, but different in many ways.
Yep. So I think that was a couple of days ago when I sort of had given him that advice. And then I got a message from him last night and said, he sent me a screenshot and he said, nope, I got rejected because the VIN is not in the NHTSA database. Contact the NHTSA. So they've punted the person to the feds, but I already know how this is going to go down. If you call the feds are going to say, no, I'm not blocking it. It's not me.
And unfortunately, this person is stuck in limbo.
Yeah,
because you have it's not my problem being said by both parties, and the only one party in particular can control the actual registration for said vehicle, registration and title.
Yeah. Interesting in that, and I got a bunch of sort of contradictory points because I have another conversation I'm going to replay that happened just before I traveled here with yet another person at the RMV. It's kind of interesting, though, that for the Mass RMV to hide behind the feds and say this is a Fed issue, but then also say registration is owned and controlled by the state, not by the feds.
What is it? Right.
Well, which one? You can't have it both ways.
Right. And this is exactly, this is why, government overall, how things operate. There are 50 states with 50 different sets of rules.
Yep.
Some of them may mimic.
Yeah.
Some of them may repeat in certain ways.
Yeah.
However, this is why I can't buy a 50 cal Desert Eagle in Massachusetts.
That's right.
Because I'm not in Nevada whatever. It's just Mass is dictating this.
Yeah.
Do not blame the feds for this when you are the one implementing a non-law.
Yeah. I think maybe the answer is anything that I want to buy, I'll ship to Mexico and I'll have the car come in through Eagle Pass. And I'm sure that will be welcomed into the U.S.
Matter of fact, you'll get a registration, a title,
healthcare,
insurance covered.
My car will vote.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So send all your JDM cars through Eagle
Yeah.
Pass, and you'll be good.
Just have the cartel bring them in.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, no problem. So anyways, in retrospect, I'm glad I didn't send that particular person that piece of paperwork again. So why should I give them the answer to the question that they should have been asking themselves? And then...
No, 1 second. That email you got from the NHTSA, the email structure, was it someone's name at NHTSA?
Yeah, I got a human. I got a human to interact.
It wasn't
with.
like an info at.
No, I got a human. Yep, I got a human.
Interesting.
So, I actually, I don't want to quote it verbatim, but Mercedes put something out not that long ago. I don't know if it was last night or this morning. Have you read it yet?
No.
So she's posted it. So I recommend that the folks go in and read what she's posted on Autopian. She was actually able to get through the DMV and a DMV spokesperson. And I appreciate Mercedes sort of being our voice and putting this out there in the public. Admittedly, though, I'm a bit frustrated that the press got through to somebody in the know, but I can't.
Whereas, right.
I'm a resident here who's
Yeah.
being impacted by this,
Right.
but I can't get
An answer.
somebody in the know. But hey, RMV, you'll speak to the press. Why? So you can spin it, or I don't.
Yeah.
Why?
So-
why is that person entitled interaction? I am not.
And it seems like, again, actually, just because I just pulled it up from the Autopian, again, Mercedes' article, it seems as if the K stuff, we kind of knew something was boiling for that. But as a natural oversight on their part, they dictated, if it doesn't have 17 VIN numbers, it's a problem.
That's
Whereas lumping now all JDM imports into that same asterisk, if you will, K vehicle when somebody goes to that same script.
The
Yes.
Polo is short a number as well.
Yeah, a lot of cars are
Yeah.
short.
There's a ton.
There's American cars that are short. Anything built before 1981 is a short VIN.
Yeah.
And, I might argue that, okay, RMV, if you want to say that vehicle can't be on the road because it doesn't pass FMVSS. FMVSS first came about in 1967. Its first sort of crash standard requirements and so forth. Every car built in America before 1967 passes 0 of the FMVSS. So if you want to hide behind that, then what I can also draw from that conclusion is that why isn't mine somebody's 1957 Bel Air not roadworthy?
Correct.
A 66 Corvette, right?
A 65 Beetle.
Yeah, all of these things equally do not pass the crash standards.
Yeah.
However, why is it that one from or I shouldn't say that one. Why is the one from the country of Japan less safe than all the others that we know on a legal basis do not pass the same test?
Yep.
Right? I could even say, is it racist?
Yeah.
Because
yes.
we've also read and or heard secondhand that, well, if you have a German car, an Italian car, or a British car, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's only the Japanese cars that aren't safe. Based on what evidence, what test results, what piece of information? Crash reports?
I was going to say,
explain to me how you've deemed the Japanese stuff more unsafe than if.
Yeah.
How about I can bring a 1997 Fiat 500.
Yeah.
As far as the mass RMV is concerned, that thing is safe, even though it's not in the NHTSA database.
Yeah. But because it came from
Italy.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this other thing that's Japanese can't be put on the road. If we're talking about cars in general, one of the nuances here is if this plays out to be Ks only, right? And I think maybe what they've done, and when I first sort of caught wind that it's going to be Ks, my first reaction was, how is the RMV going to get this right to not reject anything that's not a K?
They're not.
Right? How do you communicate out to the several hundred frontline clerks or whoever to say, when somebody comes in, this is how you know whether it's a K or not? I was convinced in the back of my mind they would not get this right and everything would get rejected.
Yep.
And again, with lack of information, I think they've cast a net that says, if you're 11 digit and your country of origin is Japan, you must be a K.
Yeah.
And no go.
It's
That's
the only
it.
thing those people drive
There's
over
no
there. That's it.
there's no logic or critical thinking to it. It's here is our criteria that they established.
Yeah.
A and B. It doesn't matter if there's 20 other line items that
right.
don't apply.
That's right.
It just happens to be if A car, B car happens to have those 2 line items, they exclude it with no thorough referencing or reasoning realistically.
And it's not that hard, right? It's not that hard to find out everything that's a K. And all of those vehicles have a chassis prefix. All of them. You know, DD51B, like all of them, HA3, HA4, HH3. Like it's easy to find those things on a VIN basis.
Yeah.
You could easily make a list, have it a table in the system. Hey, call your IT department. Somebody goes to key punch this thing and you see this prefix on the VIN, don't let it through.
Yeah.
The easy way is, and I can stop Ks by stopping everything.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
It takes no effort.
The Rhode Island vanity plate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Rhode Island vanity plate.
It takes
I
no
mean,
effort.
even you know, my experience in the past month registering my car. I talked about the story, and this is just to show the, I don't even want to call it ineptness of a single individual, but it's the miscommunication of some sort of rule change. And that was, I was told one day I cannot register my car because the RMV1 form has both typing and my writing into it.
Wow.
The typing was from the insurance company. They don't have all of my entire information.
Right.
I filled out my date of birth, license number in pen because, hey, I don't keep a typewriter with me in my car. Sorry. I was denied by a person who got a memo that I found this out after the fact, got a memo that said, yes, that is something we will be implementing at some point, but we have not made the public aware. We haven't even made the insurance companies aware. Because when I called my insurance company, they put me on hold for a half hour, which I oblige and appreciate because they actually did their due diligence and said, wait a second, nope, we just contacted the RMV. There's nothing like that in place. You need to go register that car because you are legally allowed to do so.
Yeah.
When I went back the next day, I got a different person. That person said, oh, I know who you spoke to. They're wrong. It is coming, but there's no reason this shouldn't have been registered yesterday. Yeah. So, and that's it. And it's not the ineptness. This is one person, i.e. at a window, reading from a script of predetermined memos, emails, whatever they get. They're not allowed to think outside the box.
That's right.
They're just, again, this script that's in front of them, and they're reading off that. Now, the miscommunication occurs when somebody who doesn't actually understand what they're taking away up higher makes a move and implements that memo. Hit send on that memo, if you will. Yeah. That's where the problem is. Yeah. And now, unfortunately, it seems like we're seeing many other vehicles affected, or it seems that way. The dominoes are falling, if you will, because of, again, not being thorough.
Yeah. You know, my concern is that, I have some cars that I'm passionate about. I've got a GTR, I've got an ITR, I've got some cars that are, hey, why should I be any different than the guy that's got a 62 Corvette parked in his garage, right?
Yeah.
Right.
When I bought it, and I'm not trying to jump the gun and say that it's going to get revoked, but that should be in the car. Again, I have a vacuum.
I mean,
and I'm trying to sort of play out worst case scenarios. What if I got a letter that says, well, hey, all these things are now illegal? It's sort of like what happened to Chuck. Like, well, wait a minute. I met the rules when it was in place. And even for the people that went in last week, they met the rules that were in place at that point in time, the public rules, so to speak. And now you're saying, well, there's this other rule. How about at least being fair and saying, I've already written my state rep. And, one of the things I said to the state rep, like, how about, due process? How about a public hearing? Yeah. Hey, RMV is considering X. We would like to solicit input from the residents that may be affected by this evaluation. We would love to hear from you. And how about at least that? Yeah.
And again, we're talking about a government entity here, doing your due diligence. In other words, maybe like you're saying, put it out to the public and ask first, because legally there's not a foot to stand on. Yeah. If this was in court, they would be torn apart.
Yeah, but they know that they aren't going to be brought to court.
But
or I shouldn't say not, but it's going to take somebody who's got the desire, the energy, and the money to go that far.
But I mean, because technically, like, again, these are all hypotheticals. But somebody like yourself, you have a decent amount of money invested into these vehicles that you enjoy and have done so legally through all the correct channels.
Yeah. legally registered, legally insured. I get inspection every year. I pay excise tax. I'm 100% by the books.
And
there's nothing illegal about anything that I do. Yeah. And now for me to sort of think about the worst case scenario out of it. Like, obviously I'm jumping 5 steps ahead when I don't know steps 1 through 4. But if they sort of say, again, like with Chuck, what happened with Chuck? Hey, by the way, we can't allow you to drive this or drive and or own or whatever in Massachusetts. And like, wait a minute.
And it doesn't
Where's
even
my Fourth Amendment rights here. This is an unreasonable seizure.
And it doesn't even exactly. And it doesn't even have to be a defined no. It can be put in, just like Chuck's scenario, a stay.
Yeah.
Where it's you can't use it, you can't do anything with it, and we don't need to give you an answer. Yeah. And again, it's just like, hey, you can't take money, i.e. money in vehicle form, away from a citizen who has done everything legally. Yeah. That's just not how this works.
Yeah. I am not what I'm doing is not I'm not jeopardizing public safety. Right. I'm not, making crack in my backyard. Right. I'm not shooting my machine gun in the air.
Right.
I'm not doing anything that should affect anybody else. And, I'd argue that if this thing about safety, and this is obviously a very interesting, if it ever gets to a public debate and forum, it's a little bit like helmet laws.
Yep.
Yes.
Right. Okay, Mass, you're making me wear a helmet. Connecticut does not. This is my life.
Rhode Island doesn't.
Yeah, this is my life. How come I can't choose to wear a helmet?
Yep.
And it's a very similar thing. And if I choose to be in a cab over mini truck, I'm not going to say impossible, but I'm more likely to harm myself than somebody else. Isn't this overreach to decide
it's your
what's
choice.
safe for myself?
So, and that's the thing is like when you start to get into that area I hate, especially when it comes to things that are dictated to us, it's my choice ultimately. And if you're going to take one thing away, where is the line drawn for the rest of it?
That's absolutely
And my thing with all of this stuff is it's the K's, then everything associated to that.
That's step 1. And
then it just over the course of, I don't know how long, the small paper cuts, next thing you know, oh, wait, no, you're right. You're right. All the domestics from this age. Hey, you know what? No motorcycles either.
Antiques.
It's just like, what do we... No, this is... The line needs to be drawn now because this is where it starts.
Show me the evidence. Obviously not you. Rhetorical question. Show me the evidence where a Model A is more safe than a K truck.
Right.
Can I see it?
Built with...
It doesn't have seatbelts. It doesn't have hydraulic brakes.
Yeah,
it has none of that. So demonstrate to me why you're going to allow that to remain on the roads and not this other thing. And, one of the things that, and I'll jump to this when I get to I wanted to recap the letter I wrote, but I don't even know, like even a public forum could at least open the door for compromise. What if they said, look, here's what we're trying to do. We want to make sure that K trucks are not used on a daily basis. They're not out in commuter, like whatever. So why not say, okay, we're going to allow you a low speed vehicle permit.
That's what you and I were talking about.
So, okay, you know what? All right, that's a compromise. Like people that have it, we'll let you keep it. You can be a low-speed vehicle. Or like Pennsylvania did. Pennsylvania said, okay, if you got a K, I don't know if they did it retroactive or future. I don't know all the details, so I don't want to be misquoted. But I read where Pennsylvania said, you know what, you have to have an antique plate. Okay, that's certainly then, it limits you, but it doesn't ban you. It just says, you know what, I'm going to drive this thing for enjoyment. Yep. I can take it to a car show. I can drive it on Sundays. I can do things like that.
Yeah.
But it's not an outright no. You're driving the vehicle for what I believe was likely the 25-year exception, right? The Fed's thinking that this stuff wouldn't be a normal day-to-day usage. Mm-hmm. So let me have my fun on Sundays.
Yeah.
Why would you deprive me of that?
Right.
And this goes back to not having a public forum, not having interaction, and somebody just sort of behind the curtain with authority, being in a position of authority and power to say, this is what I'm going to do. No checks and balances.
That's not a free society.
Yeah, it's not a democracy.
That's not how it. Yeah. Again, there's many things. We're harping on the cars in particular, and there's many things you could associate in that similar vein. But this is what we know and love.
Yeah.
So we're obviously affected by it. And we're 3 people sitting in this room right now. This is going to potentially affect thousands of people in Massachusetts. And then we've witnessed how it went with the plates and K vehicles in Rhode Island. So it's just there's no end in sight if this is how it's going to be Right. If this is what's going to be allowed.
Yeah, it's a slippery
I
slope.
can't help but keep thinking about like if I were to, like I really want to own a classic Mini, right? So if I were to bring in one from Japan, or if I were to bring in one from the UK, like it's the exact same vehicle.
All right, I got a true story.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go to the next phone call that I had, which was this morning, was right before the trip here. So I played that scenario out, but just a couple things that was with this different person from the RMV today I was on the phone with. And, you know, when I started the conversation off, I talked to two different people. I started the conversation off and I just said to them, you know, sort of point blank, look, I know you're frontline customer service.
Yep.
I know you're not the policymaker. I know that, you know, you have been given some sort of information, but you're not sitting at the table where these decisions are being made.
Yeah, like I know you have a boss.
Yeah. And I said, look, you know, at no point do I ever want you to think I am blaming you. I'm not going to come across as belligerent or demeaning or insulting. I just want to sort of talk through the facts behind what's happening. And, you know, I explained to this person what happened to this friend, and she said, well, it's not coming from us. It's coming from the NHTSA. It's not us.
Yep.
I said, well, can you give me the proof of that? Well, I don't have any proof.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I'm not sure that I can understand how you can make that claim because I have proof from the NHTSA saying it's not them.
Yeah.
So until you give me proof that it is them, I can't believe you.
Yeah.
I have in writing they're not doing it. She says, well, I don't know what to tell you. And I said, you know, I gave a bunch of examples, and, you know, I said, well, okay, I've got this car that I brought in not that long ago, and I said, you know, there's a process that allows this thing to come into the United States, and your current published process, which I've screenshotted to say for future reference,
Important.
in the event that it gets taken down, Mass RMVs requires that, in addition to sort of chain of ownership, meaning I have the equivalent of the title and I have a bill of sale, I need a government form that allows it to come into the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need this RMV form, 7502, if I got my numbers right.
7501.
Thank you.
Entry summary.
Entry
right?
summary. And what that thing means is a Customs and Border Patrol person has stamped this thing with the matching VIN that says it is allowed in the United States. The supplemental piece that the RMV does not ask for, they just want that sheet. But in order for that sheet to be, I'll call it generated, there is also the FMVSS form and there's also the EPA form. The person that I talked to, who was the escalation person, there was the second person this morning, didn't even know those three things existed. Didn't even know what these forms were. Did not even know in their own RMV site, all I need is a 7502. And the 7502 says, here's the VIN, and it's been approved. It's federally legal to be here. They didn't even know those things existed. And then they sort of turned it into, well, the feds say you can bring it in for off-road. And I said, no, that's not true either, because that's a separate checkbox on the form. If I'm choosing to bring something in off-road, it might mean I bought a 2024 K truck.
Yeah.
And I want it for off-road. Or maybe I have an industrial complex and I need I have an airport Grumman.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't drive an airport Grumman on the road, but I
Right.
can bring it in for off-road use. That's how, you know, if it was made overseas, that's how it was sort of crossed the border. I said, no, you're not right. You're misinformed.
Yeah.
If you go to the form, it's checkbox number 1.
Yeah.
This vehicle is exempt. It's over 25 years old. And I said, here's a license plate number as an example. Pull my registration file up. You'll have to see the scan of it. And I said, when I come in, the clerk always says to me, well, I only need the 7502. Mm-hmm. I am deliberate to give them the FMVSS exception and the EPA exemption. And I said, if you scan through, please find the FMVSS exception, and you'll see that NHTSA has approved this vehicle to be in the United States for use on the road.
Yep.
Box number 1, it is federally legal. So if somebody comes in with that document, you can't blame the feds for saying it's illegal to be here when they have a document proving it is legal to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to say it's illegal in mass and you've put the legislature in place like Maine did, that's a different matter.
Yep.
But you can't hide behind the feds when myself and others have written proof, have a stamp, it has a custom stamp on it that says this thing is here legally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. If you want to do that, then follow the guidelines and set that legislation forth.
That's right. That's right.
But right now, you cannot do that.
Yeah. So I'm going to get back to the thing you made, a question of the comment you made. So I said, well, okay, how about this as a scenario? I've got a Japanese car that This is a real case scenario. It hasn't shipped yet. I have a Japanese car with a 17-digit VIN. Can I register that? Yep, no problem. It's got 17 digits. So in the back of my mind, well, wait a minute. Why is the 17-digit VIN car safer than the 11-digit VIN car?
Yeah.
Which in both cases, the feds are saying, I don't care, it's over 25.
Right.
This person's saying, well, the extra 6 digits, it's going to make it okay, which it's not. And I said, well, can I have that in writing? Oh, no, I can't give it to you in writing. Well, and I said, but you just verbally told me it will be okay. I want that from you. So when I walk into the clerk, I can say, this office that's in authority has said this will be approved.
Yeah.
Well, no, I can't give it to you. Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay. So I don't know if that answers your question on the Mini,
yeah.
but even if it has the right length, well, it would seem that they're not focusing on non-Japanese car, but in this scenario, the car is a BMW. It's a European car
Yeah.
of Japanese origin with a long VIN. I can't even imagine what they're going to do when they see that registration piece of paperwork.
That's my thought, is like the country of origin. Is this where we're honing in? It's like anything
Right.
from here.
Is it the VIN? Is it
Because, like, for example, John, he had just brought in a Mark II from somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
Netherlands?
Came in, no
Yeah.
issues here.
Right. By their verbal description of this pending rule,
Mhm.
that VIN is not in the NHTSA database, does not meet federal motor vehicle safety standards. And
Yeah.
by that rule, that one would also be illegal to register. Or I shouldn't say illegal because there's no law.
But
Yeah.
On that would also be stopped at the counter
Mhm.
with a rejection letter saying VIN not in the database.
Yeah, and it brings me back to, like, the Polo's VIN wasn't in the database. To insure it, it was a problem as well, because
Yeah.
it's like, I give them a VIN number. Oh, that didn't come up. Like, can we repeat it? Okay, repeat it. Oh, no, it didn't come up. I said, okay, that's fine. I know it's going to be a little bit shorter than a standard one. Sometimes you just have to put it in as Volkswagen. And I'm telling them, again, just
Yeah.
like you, I'm educating them, insurance company, if you put in the year in Volkswagen, there should be an option for other.
Yeah.
Oh, there is. Okay. Well, just a Volkswagen other. You can record the VIN. It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder. Obviously, I can't see the screen, and I've seen some of the clerks go through like the checklist, and I'm sort of wondering is if one of two things is happening. Did they implement something on the system side that sort of just outright rejects it if you put a short VIN in, or are the clerks attempting to process the registration in a non-gray market fashion? Right. However, the system was built to accommodate the shorter VIN, are they just, or was that sort of feature disabled on a system perspective? Like, hey, somebody who was rolling this thing out called up IT and said, I want you to immediately kick something out that's not 17-digit and have it create this response.
Yeah.
Like implement a system-wide capability in the computer system, and now it's like I've cast a net that catches everything.
Yeah, it catches all.
Yeah.
So going back to what I was going to say about the Polo is a thought I had immediately after I finished saying it. So are you having any problem if you call your insurance company to insure these things?
No, never.
So the people who would need to pay out
Yeah.
in the case of a problem, a crash, a death, an injury,
That's right.
don't want any of it. But if anything happens, you have to pay them for it. They have no problem. Now, the flip side to that is they're just collecting money. They're just like,
Yeah.
we'll collect your money. But they don't have an issue with it.
No, and it's also not to say that at some point. I mean, I don't think. Look, I have my cars in Haggerty, and I don't even know how long my list is. If I had to imagine, I've got a 10-car policy because I also have American stuff on there. I have my trailer. I have a lot of stuff on Haggerty, right? Stuff that's not daily drivers.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that Haggerty at some point may not turn around and like try to fight a claim, because that's what insurance companies do.
Yeah.
However, they don't have any problem setting these cars up and taking my money and putting them on the policy.
Yeah. As I was verbalizing my thought, I kind of came back to well, they'll take the money no matter what.
Of course. And actually, I don't know if the other companies are like it, because I've only had Haggerty, and I think my policy with them is at least 20 years old. I merely go on their website, I go to my account, and I say add vehicle.
Yeah.
I type in the information. I say what kind of coverage I want. I submit photos, upload.
Away
and 2 days later, I have the RMV form that I need.
Yeah.
Yep.
And here's what it's going to cost you. Actually, I get a quote immediately, and then they say, do you want to add it? And if you say yes, you get the RMV policy or document for registration within a day or two. And they've been like their front end in terms of car setup is remarkably easy and efficient and sort of low pain. But yeah, certainly the insurance company is not stopping any of this. I got to share a couple more things that kind of came up in the phone call, and kind of going back to the Civic. And I said, if you compare those two cars side by side, they look the same. And I can't tell you this car is the same just based on its look and its name and its shares badges. When you look at it, essentially the only thing that looks different is the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And this person said, well, maybe that's the issue because the steering wheel is on the wrong side. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean?
What does that go anyway?
I said, well, then how come mail trucks can have a steering wheel on the wrong side?
Yeah.
Right. This is why they have a script, because when they go off it, you get answers like that.
You get a wild answer.
Yeah. Because the steering wheel is on the wrong side, that car's going to automatically want to drive on the wrong side of the road, sir. That's why we can't have that.
It's like talking to a 4-year-old when they ask how old you are and they ask if you were around when dinosaurs were alive. It's like, it's just like you're talking to a child.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Now, there's been like mixed success. Now, I don't want to use any branches, any examples, but like from what I can tell is it's kind of like a luck of the draw type situation.
I think that was the case a little bit, going back in time, so to speak, in that you maybe got a clerk that has done it before or has not, and then the person just sort of doesn't know how to do the setup. But there's been, I think now, somewhere in the order of 4 to 6 people that have said, nope, not happening. And even some people who've taken the same piece of paperwork and went to a different branch to see if maybe it was a clerk thing.
Yep.
One of the things that I wonder is if you took your 11-digit documentation and you arbitrarily added 6 zeros to it, would it actually go through? I mean, I'm not going to do that.
No.
But I wonder.
You're certainly not encouraging anyone to do it either.
No, I'm not. I wonder if, again, not knowing how this stop or blockage is occurring, is it computer-based? And the computer says, I'm stopping at 11, I'm kicking you out. Or if it had a 17, regardless of where it's coming from, it's
1,
like,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever.
Yeah, you're 17. I'm going to process you.
Because I wonder if, my thought is, do they start with the VIN, type in the VIN, and it auto-populates the rest? Or are they enter the VIN and then they're hand typing Honda, and then they're hand typing Civic, and then all that stuff there? Because if they are, I would imagine then the VIN isn't giving them any information.
Yeah, I don't know if it's real time tied to the NHTSA. I would assume that it is. If the rejection letter is saying it's not an active VIN, or they're just making that up in response to 11 digits. I don't know.
Right. Right. Or is it, like you said, I think you mentioned country of origin or something like that? Because because I have to assume if that was the case, I have to assume it's VIN specific, because if it was country of origin specific, I think we would be seeing multiple outlets kind of reporting like, hey, Mass isn't allowing a brand new Toyota to be registered, or just something that goes, wait a second.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the thumb behind the keyboard is just clicking numbers in, go, I can't do it.
Yeah, a country of origin over a certain year.
Right, just something.
Or if it indeed is the feds, like if I just give them the benefit of doubt for like 3 seconds, if it is indeed the feds, why is no other state rejecting people who are registering their gray market import?
Right. Yeah. Currently, like where this is,
because it's really scattered. Like if you look at a map of the states who have brought it to their attention or stopped it or have said it's going to be under review, whatever, it's all sporadic. It's all kind of spread out.
And that's in regard to K specifically. But I'm even saying non-K, these people that are buying Skylines and putting them on the road, they walk into a DMV or wherever it may be, and that DMV is not kicking them out saying, oh, it's not in the NHTSA database, I can't register this thing, you got to go see the feds. But yet Mass is doing this.
So just some more on the Autopian article written by Mercedes. She did end up speaking, or I'm sorry, I don't know. They did end up speaking to someone at the call center named Natasha. We can go as far as that because it's in the article. Natasha knows all about what's happening right now, and she thankfully Natasha knows all about what's happening right now, and she will be in a meeting later today. That was yesterday, so another meeting took place where the details of the ban will be finalized. She was able to give me the specifics of the current policy, but warned that details may change after today's meeting. Once the state irons out what is to do with imported vehicles, it will update its website, train its offices, and send out documentation. So here's what is currently happening with imported vehicles. Natasha tells me that as of right now, the RMV is under orders from its legal department. Interesting. Because it's not from the Fed, to deny the registration of vehicles believed to be in Japan's tiny K class. This list of vehicles is currently Honda Acti, Suzuki Carry /Every, Mitsubishi Minicab, AutoZone Mazda Scrum, Subaru Sambar, Isuzu Mini Truck, Nissan Clipper, Toyota Light Ace, Town Ace, Daihatsu Hijet, and Atari.
Okay. I gotta
Some of those are full-size vans.
Yes, you have to pause there. So this just plays into my fears. They don't even know what a K is.
They don't.
No.
Right.
Just by that list that they've said, they don't even know what a K is.
Incorrect. Correct.
Yeah, and it's like is every vehicle subject to an additional inspection when it's imported from Japan?
You know what? I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'll be careful. Selfishly,
Yeah.
if I have a non-K, I'm okay with that. Like, I'll go through the rigor and the step to say, look, this is a non-K. Put your own eyes on it.
Yeah.
I'll put aside the debate whether K should be allowed or not.
Is there anything
I don't mind that rigor,
Yeah.
because that takes the subjectivity out of it for a clerk or somebody sitting in Quincy to look at a piece of paper and say, it's Japanese.
Right,
No go.
just to make there, because even in this article, they go on. Now, this list is quite interesting because I'm not aware of an Isuzu Mini Truck or even an Isuzu K Truck of any kind.
Yeah.
I
I can't make this up.
Yes.
I can't make this up. My
Right.
fear was that they would not understand what a K is, and here they are.
That'd be like me banning hot dogs for my life, and I don't even know what they are. It just doesn't.
No idea, straight to jail.
I can't identify one,
Yeah.
but I know I will not eat one.
And there was an update to this article today, June 21st, but it's minimal. It says another report has come in of an RMV refusal to register a JDM 1996 Honda Civic.
Yeah, okay.
The state claims to be targeting Ks, but is applying the new policy to seemingly any JDM vehicle.
So that would be, I had actually, so for folks that are in Mass, or if you're in neighboring states and you sort of also care, there's a new Facebook group called Massachusetts JDM Advocates, I think is what it
Josh
is.
has it pulled up.
Yeah,
here.
Okay.
yeah.
Did I get the title?
Massachusetts, yep, Massachusetts JDM Imports Advocates.
So my friend that got denied the EK, I took the form and I sort of scribbled out his personal information, and I posted that photo up in that same group.
Mm-hmm.
So she's aware of it through that. But again, that rejection was, your VIN is not in the NHTSA database. Well, it's not going to be because they don't require it.
Yeah, it's not something they require, so why would you be able to find it?
Yeah.
Right. There was never this prerequisite. So why?
Yeah. So this is an interesting point that I, in my letter to, I've never written a state rep in my life. I apologize in my opening sentence and say, look, lifelong Mass resident, and I've never contacted a state rep. It's the first time I'm doing it. Excuse me if I'm not following protocol, and excuse the length of this email because I need to make you more informed than the RMV if you indeed are going to react on my behalf. And then, one of the important points I put is K versus non-K specifically, and I said to him, the RMV has proven in the article that I linked him to, they don't know what a mini truck is. One of the phone calls that I had, I guess it would have been earlier in the week, the person on the phone said to me, before this week, I never even heard of a K. and this is the person fielding my phone call.
Yeah.
Trying to answer my questions, and they didn't even know what a K was. And not only did they not hear of it, they didn't know what the definition of a K was. And so here's another interesting sort of ambiguity in this. Let's say the path turns out, well, it's K trucks, K vans, but not everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, if you're going to use the word K, the K means 660cc.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean a 660cc automobile is banned or not banned?
Yeah.
Like, so what is it? Is
right, because you could then take that, wait, are we going by 60cc? Because that applies to a multitude of other.
Right. That's right.
So in the import paperwork, is there anything that's state engine size?
Yeah, it's in the export certificate. It's the displacement is part of the documentation.
So, that would be easy enough.
Yeah, here we go. That would make sense.
Right.
That would make sense.
Right.
If your export paperwork says anything below 0.7 liter, if you will, then okay, this is a K, not allowed. And again, I don't want to. I'm going to be Switzerland relative to the Ks. For me personally, if I could never have a K again, I would be disappointed, but I won't fall on my sword personally for a K.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not going to climb that hill over a K. I don't have that much of a vested interest. They don't entice me all that much. They were fun. They were novel in the beginning.
Yes.
But it's kind of worn off. And so I'm not going to climb that hill over a K.
Right.
Again, I'm being selfish because I know that for a lot of other people,
some people will.
That they will, and it will matter to them. For me personally,
there's people making a living bringing in.
I was just
only.
So there's that, and even there's a portion of you can go so many different ways with this, and so deep with this, if you will, because there is, I guarantee, a segment of, let's call them Massachusetts blue collar workers who say, "Fuck that! I'm not buying a $70,000 domestic truck. I'm going to go out there and buy like 4 of these and get all my work done."
Yeah.
Why?
Is this the equivalent of outlawing gas automobiles, where the government's saying this is what you will drive in the future?
Do you want my?
I'm taking your choice away.
Do you want my tinfoil cap opinion? This is the beginning to that.
Yeah.
This is they start with this.
Yeah.
And little by little, the cement is hit.
Yeah.
And it comes to fruition.
Yeah. The next thing is you can't drive your 1960 Cadillac that you got from your dad or your grandfather.
Josh, what did I say to you when I walked in?
I can't remember.
Okay. I said, how long until just one day? It's like, as of this day, any vehicle, X amount years, say 40 years or older, your registration will not be able to be renewed.
And again, because and this is just me speaking, I'm not speaking for everybody. In my opinion, the way to fool people into taking your new rule change is to say you're protecting them. This is for your own good. This is for your safety. You're going to be so much safer. We can't have these on the road. We can't do that. We want to keep you safe.
Stay 6 feet away from me.
How old are you?
I'll be 69 the end of the year.
You've protected yourself pretty well so far, right?
Knock on wood.
Right.
Except I'm going to commit suicide tomorrow.
Yeah, you've done. You look great for your age. You live a hell of a life. You've done really well protecting yourself. You don't need anyone else to step in now.
I'm fortunate. I'm healthy. I've experienced a lot of things. I've been a lot of places. I've got a great family. They're all healthy. Like I've got a lot of great things going on in my life, and I always look to the positive.
Absolutely.
Right, and I don't want to focus on this being, oh, woe is me. This is just a percentile of things that matter in my life. Those other things matter way more than this stuff does. But I care.
Yeah, right. Again, because we're passionate about this stuff. That's enough to come in here on a random Friday, middle of the day to chat about it. And it just not only has he kept himself safe and sound for so long, also his children, and he's lived through no seatbelts, smoking on airplanes.
Oh my God! In the back of a station wagon, sitting the wrong way with no seatbelt.
Yep.
Right. It just.
Or in a pickup truck, back in the rear bed of a pickup truck.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Maybe you guys are too young. When I was growing up, if your car broke down, you flat towed. You called a buddy and said, "Bring your chain and tow me home."
I've flat towed before.
Yep, we've seen buddies of the show.
I'm really bad at it.
Or I'm towing them. Like, dude, keep pressure on the brakes so you don't rear end me.
Yeah.
Right. Just pay a little attention, please.
It's just. At 34, I've protected myself. I've done really well. My parents have done very well protecting me. Josh, he's here, looking
so far
good.
So good.
Pete, we're all here.
And that's the thing is, I've done a lot of stupid shit in my 40 years. It's okay. I don't need the government to protect me, and I don't want them to. Hey, if we're being invaded, okay, bring your warships because I ain't got one of those.
Right. That's right.
But like.
Protect my food source.
Exactly.
Let's figure it out. Protect my food source.
Perhaps protect the grid. Perhaps protect all that other stuff. Versus being worried about a vehicle that is equivalent to other vehicles, but because it's from one country or doesn't have a particular number.
Yeah. I don't want to turn this political, but how about protect me? I just this morning with the news on the 12-year-old girl in Texas that was strangled by 2 illegal immigrants. How about if you protect the people from that stuff?
Yeah. Let's focus on that stuff.
Innocent kids are dying and getting raped, and you're going to bother me over something that is subjectively unsafe. You haven't even put it on paper for me why this is unsafe.
And again, speaking out of both sides of their mouth. You can't blame it on the Fed, and the Fed say no.
Yeah.
And the citizen have the proof that the Fed said no.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a pretty easy way just to kind of filter this down for everything coming in that's 25 years or older. You just purely look at engine displacement. And like I said, if you've got to play both sides of it, if, anything below 0.7 displacement is a low-speed vehicle registration, at least you still get to use it.
Yeah. Or antique.
Yeah.
It's got to have an antique
registration.
plate.
You said Pennsylvania
Yeah, I think
did something of the sort.
Make it an antique.
I just don't understand the confusion. It seems like such an easy way to just filter this down from anything above.
Yeah.
I think if I bring in a Volkswagen Lupo. You know what a Volkswagen Lupo is?
I don't.
Okay, Josh, can you bring me up a Volkswagen Lupo?
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, I was talking to him.
Should we find you one in
about
Japan
RAF
and bring it in
just
through
recently.
Japan?
Volkswagen Lupo, I mean, this thing, it might be able to sit on this table. Legitimately might be able to, it's just recently be able to start being imported now. I don't think there'd be any of these in Japan, to be honest with you. They'll be coming in from Europe somewhere. But I mean, small engine, not under a liter, but a very small vehicle. It's comically small.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
It's as close to a K
It's
German
K-size.
German manufacturer as you can get.
It's K size with maybe a 1.3 or 1.4 liter engine.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy. That'd be totally okay.
Yeah. Somebody will, so here's the fear, again, without this sort of being policy and transparent and black and white, some R&V clerk will try to process it. They won't know what to do with it. They'll kick the file up to Quincy.
Yeah.
There's the titling office. Quincy will look at it. They'll probably Google search. They'll look at the photo.
Yeah.
And say, oh, nope, looks too small.
Yep.
That's
How
so.
about this is one other scenario. What if how about a K with airbags? Is that safe enough?
Right. What's the
Yeah. Because at some point, if we keep riding this out, at some point, those K vehicles now have common safety features that are
right?
found
The safety
here.
standards, will be
those vehicles.
implemented.
Yeah, they obviously they evolved in their safety standards over there just as we did.
Does the RV know how much of a civilization they are?
Well,
No.
So-
No. I don't think the
or
government.
how
Yeah.
arguably could be superior
Yeah.
No.
as far as advancement in technology.
Yeah,
No. I mean, you said bullet train. They're gonna
Yeah.
put their hands up and be like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I don't like this.
so that was a point I made in the sort of the writing to my rep that, look, I can't give you a piece of paper for a particular VIN. I'm sort of paraphrasing. I can't give you a piece of paper on a particular VIN that says, I know that car was manufactured in Japan, meets those requirements. The manufacturer never bothered applying it because they had no intention of that VIN series to be sent to the U.S.
Yeah.
It may or may not. We actually don't know, right? But I said, it is safe to say that the Japanese make some of the best automobiles in the world. That's not a legal definition, right? That's subjective and open to interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, when the number one selling car here
Yeah.
is a Japanese vehicle.
Yep.
Right.
And to sort of blanketly say, we're going to stop Japanese vehicles.
Yeah.
How do you do that without being uninformed, ignorant, or even racist?
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly. I think Chuck mentioned that when we first heard about the case stuff. It's like, wait a second. So you're targeting specifically JDM vehicles, so Japanese vehicles, not okay to you.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Because you can't give me any factual.
Because those idiots don't possibly know how to make a car.
That's right. It's coming from some fucking clown somewhere.
Yeah. They don't know better than Detroit. No way.
Yeah. Right.
It's wild.
Yeah.
This is why, you try to think about this in a logical and I only know what I read, and I'm well read.
Yeah.
Even before I did my first import, I read and I read and I read and I read for days.
I was going to say,
And I've been self-taught, self-informed, and I
Yeah.
read every single thing I can get my hands on. And as I think through this thing, it actually isn't that difficult.
no.
Inform yourself, and then in the middle of all that, maybe a little bit of common sense, right? A little bit of common sense that, well, I don't know. Okay, if I'm going to say that item A doesn't meet the standard, I also need to understand item B does not. Now, what do I do when A is the same as B and I'm saying A is against the rules?
Yeah.
Do you not even play that out in your head? Or do you not even know that B exists? It's probably a little bit of both. I don't even know. But I don't see it as rocket science.
And
I'm not
unfortunately, I think this is a macro view of what happens with the rest of government. and we're only seeing this small portion because we know in what it's passionate about.
Yeah, we need to get some Killdozer stickers. We need a collab.
Someone design it, I'll print it.
Oh my God, we need a K.
Yes.
A K-dozer. That's what we need.
I need a K with steel armor all over the top of the K.
100%.
You make someone design it, I'll print them.
Chatbot's probably going to be able to make something.
In a second.
Yeah.
I mean, even if the registration process was different, like you had to book an appointment to take to take the vehicle there to be looked at, right? To be like not a K vehicle, whatever. But then it's four-door Phil, just ran into this where he bought his wife a Beetle from somewhere out west. Beautiful red Beetle. It's been her dream car. He got it for her. Great. Shows up. It's got to get a VIN check. Okay, well, how do I get it to go get a VIN check? They're open for 1 hour, 1 day a week. Yeah. He calls up, we'll just throw any other plate you have on it. That it's illegal to drive. Yeah, but you're just coming here. Like, don't go drive anywhere else.
Oh, can I get that in writing?
No, absolutely not. No. So it's like he's kind of like okay, I guess. Like it's kind of a weird thing to do. Like you're telling me to break the law to come get a VIN check, which is bullshit. They look at the VIN and they make sure it matches the paperwork. They don't know anything. Yeah. Again, it's a 60-something Beetle that they don't even have any paperwork on.
Right. In Mass, your VIN check happens after your inspection. So in Mass, it's interesting. You can get registered first, and you're getting a VIN check second as part of your inspection. Mm-hmm. Theoretically, you could never go for inspection, and you'd never have a VIN check.
Yeah.
And the RMV would never be any of the wiser. But interesting, the process in Connecticut is that if you're importing direct into Connecticut and you're going to register in Connecticut, you must trailer your vehicle to a specific location in Wethersfield.
You have to pay someone?
You have to pay. I think the fee is, and Dan could chime in, Almoter Dan could, he's obviously, sorry, he's not in the chat. I believe the fee is somewhere in the neighborhood of $300. You must trailer your vehicle there. They will VIN verify, and they will do a safety check, both. Mm-hmm. And then they'll say, okay, approved or not approved. And if that's approved, then you can take your JDM paperwork and go to the RMV and actually get it registered. But then if you fail, you have to come back and pay the fee all over again. So a retest is the same fee. And I've heard similar things, like the lines are brutally long.
Yeah.
It's open limited number of hours. However, even to look at Massachusetts in the comparison, that wouldn't be an unreasonable compromise. Hey, look, residents,
it's an extra step.
Yeah, I don't have a clerk that can effectively screen this out. They don't want to put the effort into putting all the Ks in the database, like whatever. Okay, this is all difficult. You must go to a specific RMV location. Maybe you go to the same location that does, although I wouldn't wish this on us. They have specific locations when you have a salvage title.
Okay.
I've heard horror stories about trying to go in with a salvage title and get it cleared to put back on the road.
Yep.
But that would be a reasonable compromise. Hey, you have to go somewhere that's either an agent or an employee of the state, so they can put their eyes on this vehicle and confirm it's not a K. But in that same manner, though, that person has to be trained to know what a K is.
What about like mass state inspection stations?
Yeah, so they're independent, and what they do is they're the ones that are doing the VIN verification, because you can't get your inspection pass without them looking at the VIN on the car and the VIN on your registration.
Well, I'm thinking like in Rhode Island, to get my inspection on my car, I can go to Jim's Auto Shop down the road, right? Made up name. And I book an appointment with them. I go, they do the inspection. The state of Rhode Island entrusts them.
That's right.
To properly record this data to inspect the car. Why couldn't they?
They could
entrust them to verify what kind of vehicle it is and give some sort of clarification. Be like, all right, away you go.
They could. They could, as long as they're sort of accurate and factual about.
How have we come up with a handful of solutions?
And even
in an hour and 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
we could probably broker the peace deal between Ukraine and Russia at this point. I mean, this isn't that hard.
The problem is you have to want to not kill each other and not keep that big train, not keep that big military industrial complex moving. But one thing to note here, and this is in the dare I say the asshat Olympics, clearly Massachusetts is leading that charge, because in my mind of minds I go, what's another shitty state where it comes to all this stuff? Ooh, California. Let's go West Coast. How bad are they? K trucks are legal in California. They can be driven on local roads, but not freeways. This is due to the fact that many of these vehicles are not equipped with EPA-compliant engines for highway use. A bit of compromise. It's not exactly the answer we would like to hear.
Can you imagine?
But this
it's
is
okay
California.
in California and not here.
That's what's
Wild.
blowing my mind.
What world am I living in?
Yeah.
That it just like get me the fuck out of this state is the only thing I can think. It's just because, at one point there were some citizens who didn't want to pay a 2% tax on their tea, so they revolted.
Yeah.
We're fucking being dragged through the mud, stuff taken away, potential of vehicles that we've spent, in some cases, a lifetime of work for somebody's dream car. Theoretically, it hasn't happened yet, but theoretically could be taken away for no reason but some asshat up top somewhere not wanting to put a stamp on something.
Yeah. Couple of other things that I sort of made comments to in the state rep is, I touched on it earlier, but I sort of point out to them that, as I mentioned earlier, K versus non-K, but like also discrimination, right? If they're verbally saying if it's from Europe, France, Germany, whatever,
Yep.
Italy, it's okay. Well, those things when they come in have the same federal documentation that says it does not have to meet FMVSS to be in the United States. But yet you're going to say this Japanese things can't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, based on what?
Right.
Are you being insulting or racist to say the Japanese don't build a safer car than the Italians?
Yeah.
We
know they do.
I mean, are you gonna tell me that a Suzuki Alto is less safe than a Fiat 500 from the same age? I would guess not. I would guess this is obviously subjective, it's opinion. They're comparable. But in either case, there's no test data, there's no results, there's not even field data. That was one of the things I said to the rep. How about at least some field data that says Massachusetts has seen an uptick in fatalities or whatever, injuries, whatever it may be,
and they've all
in
been
these Japanese vehicles.
Yeah.
It's caused X% increase to hospitalizations or road, whatever. Like, where is at least, if you don't have hard test data, which is indisputable, how about some field research that says this is what I'm getting in,
Right.
and this is what I'm seeing? Again, vacuum speculation. I would guess that the AAMVA guys probably talk to each other, right? I'm going to have lunch. Hey, what's going on in your state? Well, yeah, these K things. We're like, we're not going to allow them in here. You guys should look into that too.
Yeah, that's
Do you
exactly.
realize these things are unsafe?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you know what these things are, what's going on in your
Yeah.
roads because of these things?
And that's the thing. Unsafe in whose opinion?
Yeah.
Yours?
Yeah.
Well, how does that, again, and just like we spent the last hour just describing, how is that versus this versus this versus that? Just please explain.
It's
I don't like it.
Yeah. I went on to educate him on the RMV current publicized process, which I've screenshotted to save. And I said, look, currently the Mass RMV requires this document. And then in order to get that document, you need the federal approval for crash standard or exemption. You need the EPA approval. And I said to him specifically, hopefully he's going to take this up for me, that what you need to tell the RMV is I have a piece of paper that says NHTSA is allowing me to have this vehicle in the United States.
Yeah.
In the same breath, the RMV cannot say the NHTSA has said this car is illegal. It's contradictory.
Yeah.
So either you're uninformed, deceitful, whatever it may be, but those two things cannot be true.
Yeah.
I cannot have a stamped doc that says it's approved, and I cannot have you say it's not approved to be here.
Right. They can't both be true
both can't be
they
truths.
instantly contradict each other.
Yeah.
And Chuck in the chat, and this is why our trio works so well, because I was kind of alluding to this before.
Yeah.
Full tinfoil hat. Where does this push come from? Oh wait, you mean there's another option?
Yeah.
I'm big truck.
Yeah.
What do I want to do?
Yeah.
Get rid of that other option. Get rid of that other viable, cheaper
Yeah.
option that works for the people. No. You must buy my $80,000 truck.
Yeah. There was, I think I saw a post this morning, possibly in that Facebook group, and I think somebody had made a comment, something to the effect that I don't want to misquote, but I'll call it the mass equivalent of Freedom of Information Act, where they're going to file something that demanded correspondence relating to this matter. But talk about if that's even possible, blowing this thing wide open. I did also, for me personally, I posted in that group. the RMV answers to the Mass DOT Board of Governors. Their upcoming meeting is either like July 14th or July 17th, thereabouts. The public is allowed to address and speak in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't ruled out going there, but I don't.
Yeah.
I haven't personally been affected by this yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't walk in and say, "Here's my letter, and this is why I'm here."
Right.
So that part's a bit odd, right?
Yeah.
I can't go in and represent, and it's not really. To me, it would feel odd to say, "Well, this is happening to so and so."
It's not your fight yet.
Yeah, this is not my fight yet.
Yeah.
And so for me to walk in there, like, well, wait a minute, why are you here? How has this impacted you? I'm like, well, it hasn't, but I don't know. At a minimum, can we address the behavior?
Yeah.
Right.
Can we address the
Right.
lack of transparency?
Yep.
Can we address how the employees who are taking the field phone calls don't even understand their own rules?
And-
So where's the accountability as you as the oversight board to this organization demand that either employees be trained or they don't make decisions in a vacuum, or transparency or due process?
Yeah.
That is about the only thing that I could point to, but I can't point to here's how I've been wronged, because I haven't been wronged yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, benefit of the doubt, maybe they come through and resolve it all and it all makes sense. I doubt it. But
Part of me thought that way on the way here. Like, maybe, I don't know, is it premature to like sort of raise the red flag? But I don't know. There's a smoldering fire here. And,
I was just going to
Josh
say,
reading that article, the one you were reading, the person Mercedes wrote, that I was like, it could go either way. Once like the statement started to list cars that like aren't K vehicles, that's like an official statement. I was like, oh well.
yeah. Well, Chuck's right. I don't have standing. It hasn't happened to me.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's Chuck. It has happened to other people. But I also can't go in that meeting and say you did this to Johnny. Like I can't be Johnny's voice. And,
You're not his his representative.
yeah, and I also don't know that. I don't know Johnny personally. I also am making that name up. I also don't know that Johnny is as well versed as I am to be able to walk in there and say this.
And the other
this.
other phase of that is you don't know if Johnny did everything correctly and legally.
So
So and which is a whole separate thing.
I could
Again,
get,
this
hey, Johnny
character.
didn't have a 7501.
Right.
Aha.
Yeah.
But
because then they're gonna stand on that.
Yeah.
you make the great point of like, well, hold on. There should be some protocols and procedures when implementing these rules that I think, if you work for us as a citizen,
That's right.
should be put out into the public first, thoroughly checked, and then put into place versus a memo on a Tuesday that literally spins the whole R&B process or shakes it upside down.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm guessing that those folks hate hearing you work for me.
Yeah.
And I know in their mind they don't think they work for us.
No. They definitely do not.
Yeah.
Every video I've seen of somebody say that to a cop doesn't end well for them. So,
Yeah. So you're right, Chuck. I do not have standing. And I hope that I fingers crossed, I hope I actually never have standing.
Yeah. I hope you never do.
right.
Correct.
But, yeah.
Again, there's smoke, there's fire here. And if I feel like the ship has sailed. So I part of me wants to feel like, let's get out in front of this and get, let's rally the people.
Can we stop this from getting worse?
Yeah. Let's rally the people, but I'm not convinced that they will want to listen to the people. And I just sort of feel like, I think what's going to happen is something's going to go up on the RMV website, and what's going to go down is the current process. And they say, this is the process, and there won't be legislation. There won't be a hearing. There won't be a forum. There won't be anything.
It just is.
And they're going to, their shield that they're going to hide behind is the feds.
Yep.
And it won't be until there's either an oversight board or a court appearance where somebody's going to, if they go to that extent, is going to be able to prove it's not the feds.
Yep.
It's you folks.
For example, just on how many of these things seem to work, Corey, you still cannot get a vanity plate in Rhode Island, correct?
No, you cannot.
Prime example. We're 2.5 years into that, I think.
Way more.
The argument over a plate that said fake gas, apparently.
FK gas.
FK gas, and it's just no resolution, no nothing. The people lose out.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the state loses out from, effing the people a little bit more to pay for the plate.
You know
what they did in exchange? They put out a bunch more colored plates. So like you can get all different
they
designs
they
now.
gave you a shark.
Different designs now.
You know how this would change is if organizations, the leaders of those organizations become elected positions. Like if you go to other states in the country, like judges are elected.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So this becomes an elected position
Instead of appointed internally, and
and then now they're accountable to the public because the public's going to weigh in and based on how they vote.
Yeah.
That's how I think those things change.
Yep. Who'd have thought? When people are actually held accountable by the citizen, by the people. I thought there was a piece of paper written like this a long time ago. I can't seem to recall.
That's all, I don't remember. It's the story's foggy in my brain, but there was someone of some famous stature brought in cars specifically to crash to prove that the one that he wanted to bring in was safe.
Yep.
I don't remember what
that.
I don't remember what vehicle it was or whatever. It was someone of some movie. Someone will know what I'm talking about. Details are super foggy, but it was like the car. What did I say? It was like an RS200 or RS2000 or something. Or was it the 959? Was it the 959?
I can't remember.
I don't remember. Anyway, this person had enough to bring in to crash, to test, to prove.
Right.
But then you get into this rabbit hole of like, there's so many variants of K vehicles. You need multiples of each.
Yeah, it's not worth it. Like if you think about the cost of these cars and like, why bother? And this is the same thing like for me personally, like, well, okay, hopefully I'm not being asked to give up a GTR. If I'm being asked to give up a K truck, like, all right, I'm disappointed, but we're not talking a lot. The cost of the fight is not worth the value of the vehicle.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No,
And that's truly what I mean by, okay, this is where it is currently. If it continues to trend in that wrong direction, then now you're talking real money for a lot of real people in vehicles. It's like you're taking away real money for people.
Yeah. There was a comment there. It was a GTRs. You may be referencing Motorex. I thought Motorex sort of brought in some R32s and said, hey, these things, look, they pass. And then they sort of use that as the guise to bring in R33. I don't remember the ambiguity behind Motorex. I think they attempted to do the crash thing or the test thing, and then they maybe were a bit deceitful. But I don't want to misquote because I don't know all the details of how that went down. But, these are the K specifically are cheap vehicles, so it's sort of not worth it. But
it just truly like hypothetical GTRs and all that sort of stuff becoming available, or R34s, all that sort of stuff finally becoming available. It's in some instances, some people will work all their lives to want their dream car, and that is their dream car. Yeah. That's okay, and they're going to do it legally. Yeah. They're going to pay out the nose, and they're going to do it legally. To have the potential for something like that to be taken away for no law is asinine.
I have an R34 that I've purchased and is sitting in a yard waiting to get on a boat. I have no idea what's going to happen when that thing gets here. So that could be my first standing, right?
Right.
I don't know, but that thing how is that thing any different than a 1998 Maxima?
Right.
According to the letter of the law, in terms of FMVSS, it doesn't have crash documentation, but the feds don't require it. So the feds have said, hey, I don't have a problem with you being here.
Yep.
I mean, another example of this is weed, right? You can kind of get like, it's still not federally legal. So some states, you know what? We're going to reflect the Fed. Yeah. And it's not legal here to whatever extent.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was thinking of. Bill Gates did it for the 959.
Oh, geez. Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
We got to get him into the K trucks.
We got to give you got to give the NHTSA 4 to get 1.
That's.
So, I mean, but when you're
right, some people can do that.
That thing have a pretty big carbon footprint.
Like, is that the 959?
Yeah,
that guy's got the biggest carbon footprint.
Can we talk about being a hypocrite?
Biggest carbon footprint.
Hey, little person.
Right.
Hey, little man. Right. Hey, commoner. You need to drive this electric vehicle. Yeah. Because you're polluting the air. But in the meantime, I can have a 959.
It's that same. The same thing.
Make 4 so I can have 1.
Yeah.
Right.
The rules are for thee, not for me.
Yeah.
This vehicle that already exists that is gonna basically sip gas. No. You can't use that. You got to buy this new one that hasn't been made yet. That is going to go through, the again, carbon footprint to make that one vehicle is just not a reflection, not equal parts. Do you have any closing thoughts, Pete?
I'm trying to be sort of calm through this thing, and just, it's funny. I was in the garage last night with my son. We were working on the car, and then the message came in from that kid that's saying my regular got denied, and I felt, I don't know if Big Seat's even still in the chat, but, you could sense the immediate change in mood in the garage. And here I was, I was supposed to be doing something enjoyable on the BMW, and I turned completely sour. Obviously I didn't take it out on him, but like I just like don't talk. I didn't say it like don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Can you see me boiling on the inside? And I'm trying to remain calm through this. I'm not going to call individuals out. I'm not going to. I want to be mature and educated.
Because as soon as you don't,
I don't want to roll in the mud with these people, and I don't want to give them a chance to say, huh.
Right. There's
there's that guy. There's that troublemaker.
Yeah.
There's that. So I'm trying to be calm and not emotional, but history is going to repeat itself. So I have every right to be skeptical.
Well, the troublemakers
play out.
I just talked about it on Wednesday. There's dealerships selling Suzuki Jimneys in the United States as they're not Jimneys. They're selling them as the Samurais.
Yeah,
but they're like 2021, 2022s.
That's right. See,
and that's clearly not legal.
That's right.
But somehow like that all gets wrapped up into one thing.
Yep. And so to me, that's like deliberately being deceitful. And right. I think that to me violates the spirit of what the Fed said. You can bring this thing in.
Yeah.
It's been a number of years since I read it. Actually, maybe not a number of years. It's been a while since I read the AAMVA recommendation on minis, but my recollection, and maybe Chuck remembers, my recollection was that what was happening is I believe somebody was bringing in Tiger trucks, which is the Japanese, I'll call it the Japanese K. Mm-hmm. My recollection was that they were bringing in Tiger trucks that were brand new. They were bringing them in under the off-road checkbox. Mm-hmm. I'm bringing this thing for off-road.
Yeah.
Then they were ending up in I'll call it a friendly state. The friendly state was registering these things and allowing them to go on the road.
Yeah.
Even though the Fed said, no, you can only bring this in for off-road. I think that maybe is what sort of caused this whole thing, if my recollection is right, that then forced the AMVA to say, hey, look, be careful. We don't recommend these things. But nowhere in there they talk about, except for 25-year-old vehicles.
Yeah.
And then they also wrote, best practices should be engage your residents, have a forum, and enact legislation. And here we are. They've done none of that.
None of the above.
Yeah. I want to follow the AMVA and not allow these things, but they also said forum, legislature, interaction, but I'm going to ignore that piece.
Conversation.
I don't want to lift a finger. I don't want to face the public, like for whatever reason it may be.
Yeah.
I don't know what the reasons are. They won't, discuss this publicly. But my recollection is that sort of came about for, again, I think it was called a Tiger truck. And, hey, I check box, I might be box number 4 for off-road, whatever the box is. That lets the feds let it through in that regard. Mm-hmm. Now, once I got it on my property, I'm going to sell it as new without any restriction. So that was just blatant illegal.
Yeah.
Blatant illegal. And, this example you gave to me would also be blatantly illegal.
Yeah. 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 And Peter, who's been on the show, formerly of the Drive, now Motor One, wrote the article and about it, and he made contact with them. And as soon as he kind of broached the topic of like, how are you able to sell these things? It was kind of,
it was true.
Conversation was over.
Silence and,
hung up.
Hung up on.
Yeah. So.
Just, Chris, you're not wrong.
Little lemon sour to lighten the mood.
Yeah, he's not wrong. I went in the house last night and I poured myself an extra lemon sour.
Oh, okay.
An extra one.
So you deserved it.
Just to take the edge off.
Yeah. I'll probably have a couple more tonight.
Yeah.
We were talking, I don't know if the mic was on, we were talking about sort of being traumatized with something related to alcohol in our youth.
Oh, no, they weren't on yet, but yeah.
I love Japanese whiskey, but I was traumatized at a young age by drinking Fleshman's whiskey, and I won't touch Fleshman's no matter what. I was traumatized once.
Just that specific.
I was young and unwise at one point in my life also.
And that was, I'm
traumatized by Fleshman's.
we when you're young, you don't know the cutoff point.
Yeah.
And you just keep powering through.
Yeah. Everything seems like a good idea until it's not.
And then suddenly the floor falls out from under you and you're tumbling down the hillside near a skate park in the mud.
Yeah, we aren't the bad idea hunters for no reason.
Yeah.
So what do we take away? We need to figure all this stuff out. We need to hope for the best. We need a K-Dozer sticker.
Yeah.
And we might need to put some tea in the bay pretty soon.
Yeah, and please, anybody that's part of the community here, if you happen to live in Mass and or have a JDM car, please sign up for that Facebook group so you can keep informed, because it may not affect you now, but it doesn't mean it may not affect you in the future. And if I could recommend, I think I think his name is Ray, who started that group. I believe he's already sort of drafted a form letter for people to use to send to the representative. So, at a minimum, take that form letter and just, reach out to your representative and say, I don't want this thing taken away from me. Like if it happens to be a car you have now, I don't want this thing taken away from me, right? If you're in Mass, then let's be proactive. And, the RMV has to answer to legislation. They have to. There's a oversight committee in legislation. There's a board of directors. Those people have to answer to them. Like there's no avoiding those people. But our task, I believe, is educating our legislators because they don't know anything about this. So, because if we don't educate them and they'll pick up the phone and say, what are you doing? They'll get a bunch of information in the RMV and they'll come back to us and say, well, this is what the RMV said. And then we have to say, yeah, but what they said is wrong. And, here's why.
It's easy to
arm them now.
Easy to make the wrong decision if you don't know the subject
Yeah.
you're making the decision upon. It's very easy to do. So again, to your point, it's a great one. Inform them to make better, more educated decisions, not just the hammer isn't always the tool for the job in the toolbox.
Yeah. It's always easier to negotiate from, knowledge and understanding than it is, they're going to evidently do it from a position of power and no sense of, obligation or accountability to the public. And look, I'm not denying their role to keep sort of people safe, but they haven't neither legally nor objectively defined safe versus unsafe.
Right.
So if you want to play the federal card, then I'm going to say the federal card also says a 57 Bel Air shouldn't be on the road.
Yeah.
So how and where are you drawing the line?
Yeah. I think that's the
cue.
That's JDM God speaking.
That's the cue.
Yeah.
And again,
listening to me.
on Facebook, that's Massachusetts JDM Imports Advocates. Go follow that.
Josh, can we drop that in the bio by any chance?
Yeah. We'll put that right in the link for this, both on YouTube and on
I'm saying, can we also,
the audio as well.
are you a member in there?
I am.
Revival Motoring? Yeah, I would just post it in there. This way, if people want to kind of get informed.
Yeah.
Power to the people.
Yes.
If people want to get informed, they can listen to the podcast and,
they can check
and get
it
a
out.
ton of information out of this.
But I guess I'll caveat that, I'm also not this isn't my professional capacity. So,
Not at
somebody,
all.
no, but I just, in terms of somebody listening to this and then saying, well, their understanding is something different. What I know is based on personal experience. What I know is based on what I read. I wouldn't expect somebody to walk into a meeting and say, well, so-and-so said this, right? So
we're not providing legal advice.
This is, I am not your counsel, right? This is my real world experience of what I've read and the people that I've interacted with, right?
This is your personal experience.
Don't call Saul.
You are not
or actually,
Saul.
maybe you should call Saul. Don't call me.
Get him involved.
Yeah.
These are opinions fueled by passion.
Yeah.
And, there's many people out there who have many passionate things, right? There are people who love golf. There are people who love fishing.
Hey.
Ours happens to be cars. And for some people, even more so, happens to be JDM cars. And this is why.
I could collect coins. I could collect artwork. I choose not to. I collect Japanese vehicles.
Right.
They pose no harm to the public, and they pose no harm to me.
Yeah.
So what are you going to take? Are you going to take away my art collection next because
Right,
you've
right.
felt it's inappropriate?
I could fill a musket with powder and a coin and make a coin unsafe too. There's many different things. You can really continue to peel an onion any way you want to. So let's hope they listen. Let's hope the representatives listen. Pass along the passion and knowledge that a lot of people have. Grow that group on Facebook, because on that group in Facebook or on Facebook, whatever, there is a bunch of mass.gov information, how to submit public records requests, when that meeting is coming up for the DMV or RMV stuff, all that sort of stuff for you to follow if you are interested in. Hey, if you are affected by this, I'm sure you can share your story there.
Interesting. You can't file an appeal. You can't get revoked unless you break the law.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't file an appeal because you can't claim the law you broke.
Yeah. There's no law.
And this is we said this before.
Yeah,
with
this
Chuck.
is like, how do I
got
get a VIN check without no registration?
Yeah, it's just,
TFB.
oh no, it's at a stay. Well, so a stay fucks you.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, is a stay or anything equivalent
Stay at
fucks
home.
you.
Stay at home with your mask on.
Right. Yeah,
I just
exactly.
I want to add thank you. I know this was last minute.
No.
You and I were going back and forth. I think at like 10 or 11 a.m.
Something like that. Yeah.
And I was I had something going on. I had an appointment for glass. I'm like, I can come as soon as the glass is done. I'll be there.
No, thank you for making the
you know,
effort.
I appreciate, this forum and the ability to speak. And, again, maybe I don't know all the facts, but, the more I can share with people and collectively make ourselves better informed, I think the better the community will be. And
Absolutely.
Even if you're not en masse, just be careful. You don't know where this is coming next.
Right.
Is Rhode Island next? Is Vermont next? There's, is a Volkswagen next? We don't know.
Yeah.
It literally could be right. Anything's on the table at this point.
Yeah.
So no, thank you for joining. Again, short notice. But I felt as if it was important for us to chat about, because again, we live so much in this world, and it affects either us or some people we are very good friends with. And we want to see the right things done. So hold the government accountable where you can and do everything you can to, keep your rights. It's just it's not illegal to have one of these things. So until it is, fuck off.
Yeah.
And that's all we have for today. This lovely day of Friday.
This lovely day of
We'll
Friday.
be back in a couple days.
Yeah, we're gonna do it again.
So, Chuck, buddy, we miss you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Poland.
He'll be back. Yeah, he's out there, enjoying the time. Pete, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see everybody else pretty soon. That's all we got. Peace out.